What's going on, everybody? This is Lars, Director of Lacrosse Operations for Harvard Men's Lacrosse, and today we're going to talk about mesh. So in the last 10 or so years, mesh technology has come light years for where it was in the first 20 or 30 years that people were using mesh. Back in the 80s and 90s and early 2000s, you, for the most part, had two choices: hard and soft. Somewhere in the mid-2000s, there started to be monster mesh variations, which had less holes per row, and I'll talk a little bit about that later. And those were good. People liked them, but it was still hard or soft. That's pretty much all you had. Sometime around 2010, 2011, there started to be a push of companies using different materials to try and find something better. Because for so long, we were limited in what we could create from a pocket shape standpoint by what kind of mesh we had, and therein what the mesh was made of. So with this push for performance mesh, multiple different companies started trying new materials, and without getting into too much detail, the results have been fantastic. And by fantastic, I don't just mean what kind of shaped mesh or the materials that are being used in it. I'm talking very specifically about on-field performance. What people like me who string sticks can do to create pocket shapes that perform for players specific to their position, their play style, and their mechanics. While I am a very serious stringer who has created his own small business very much based on high performance stick stringing, knowing exactly what material is in what kind of mesh isn't as important as knowing how that mesh strings and how it performs on the field. Generally speaking, even when we started getting into performance mesh around 2010, 2011, for the most part, the physical makeup of the mesh hasn't really changed. The shape of the diamond has been a hexagon, which you have seen most often. And if you go by even and then odd row, it's 10 diamonds across and 9 diamonds across. In the last year or two, some of the best mesh manufacturers have started playing around with different size diamonds and different shaped diamonds. This is an example of what we would call a rhombus shaped diamond. 4 sides instead of your typical 6. Is this better? Is this worse? It all depends. Generally speaking, how the piece of mesh is strung into a head is far more important than the shape or size of the diamond. Are diamonds that are rhombus shaped better than a hexagon? Assuming that I'm using the same head and I string one piece of mesh into one and one piece of mesh into another, is one of these better than the other? Well, if I strung them both, they're probably going to be strung pretty well. It's going to depend on the person that those heads are going to for them to decide. Each mesh performs in a different kind of way. Each mesh will offer a different kind of feel upon release or when the person throws the ball with their stick. There are a number of variations that have come out in the last couple of years that combine different hole shapes inside of one piece of mesh. Another one of the trends that's happening in mesh right now that is really starting to take hold is 9 diamond mesh. Now, as I said a moment ago, generally most mesh that you've ever seen is 10 diamonds across and then 9 diamonds across, even then odd, even odd. What I am in love with right now is 9 diamond mesh, which is 9 diamonds across and 8 diamonds across consecutively. It's really difficult for me to explain why. All I know is that some of these new 9 diamond meshes that are coming out, the pocket shapes that I can create and their on-field performance is just head and shoulders above everything else. Now to go over some of my favorite mesh companies. As Harvard is an STX school, we'll start with STX Mesh. Right here I have Dry Mesh Light, an STX stringing kit, and 10 diamond memory mesh. If I had to pick one stringing kit to use for the rest of my life, I would use the STX stringing kit. Everything is more than long enough for what I'm trying to accomplish, and that is extremely important because there are some kits where the strings are a little bit too short. While this is a piece of 10 diamond memory mesh, I'm holding it up because I don't have any boxes of STX 9 diamond memory mesh, which right now is my Mount Rushmore. It is the absolute gold standard of performance on the field. If I had to pick one mesh to string field sticks for the rest of my life, 9 diamond memory mesh. End of discussion. Next manufacturer is String King. Absolutely love this stuff. It's fantastic. I'm a big fan of Grizzly 1. I think it is one of, if not the best goalie mesh you can buy on the market today. Grizzly 2 it breaks in and opens up too much. I don't recommend it as much as I recommend this. Absolutely. For Field Sticks, String King has Type 4. It's their most recent mesh they've come out with. It's been out for a couple of years. It's extremely durable. It is awesome. Great pocket shapes, great performance. Highly recommend. Next up, East Coast Dyes. East Coast Dyes makes great goalie mesh. They've got some good colors. 12 diamond goalie mesh is pretty much the standard today. This stuff is great. Definitely recommend. For Field Sticks, I absolutely recommend Hero 3. Hero 3 is the third generation of Hero Mesh, Performance Mesh from East Coast Dyes. I never really liked Hero 1 and Hero 2. I used it. It works very well. Some people love it. I didn't. I absolutely love Hero 3. Fantastic performance, great pocket shapes, easy to string, good stuff. Last but not least, the grandfather of them all, the Mesh Dynasty. Now, if you've played lacrosse in the last 40 years, I will bet money right now that you have used stuff made by this guy. The Mesh Dynasty is made by the same guy who started Gimalax. This is the performance mesh version. If you like colored mesh, there is absolutely no comparison. The best color on the market. Performance is just as good, if not better, than anything else that I've showed you today. Absolutely recommend it. Kids like color. There's plenty of color. They also make fantastic goalie mesh, 12 diamond Disciple. I love it. I'd put it up against any of these other goalie meshes that we've talked about today. Highly recommend. Lastly, talk about a little position specific stuff. Goalie mesh is for goalies. There, we covered it. Absolutely recommend. 12 diamond Hero, Grizzly 1, 12 diamond Disciple from the Mesh Dynasty. That stuff is great. For Field Sticks today, as I mentioned at the beginning, there is a lot of options. There is hexagon-shaped diamonds. There is rhombus-shaped diamonds. That is going to be up to individuals on whether they like one over the other. Now there are also a whole bunch of high-performance monster mesh variations, which also, they are awesome. I personally love the new 6-diamond monster mesh variations. That's 6, 5, 6, 5. It's great. It's great. Are there certain types of mesh that would be good for certain positions? I would say there are certain types of mesh that are better for certain pocket shapes, and it's more so for play style than for position, although it is important. I'm not going to go into that here because it's way too much information for this short video, but I recommend if anybody has the desire to try the new diamond shape or diamond size variations of mesh, by all means, go ahead. Every single one of the mesh manufacturers I've mentioned in this video, I absolutely recommend their products. So, thank you very much for tuning in. If you have any questions at all about anything that I've talked about today, please send me an email directly to lars@sidewalljedi.com. That's SIDEWALLJEDI.com. Thank you and see you soon.